Shalom, namaste. What is great with you today? I know I said I'm gonna start at 7, but right now everything's running slightly behind. But I definitely did want to have a presence that you know that you tuned into the right place. So just sit back and chill, put some music on for you. Let you just vibe for a second as I get myself situated. How's everything going with you today? Man, thank you for tuning in. We got somebody live with us. Tonight we're talking about chapter 1, man, understanding the attractor factors. Understanding bipolarism could be meaning that you're a genius. The way you're talking to yourself inside your head. And lately, I've been getting a lot of people come up to me talking about suicide, surviving suicide, or having suicidal thoughts. Like, that's a good thing because check it. There's nothing wrong with having a suicide thought. Is that you actually execute that thought that you had. You feel me? Because thinking is not actually you. It's something that you're actually experiencing. You follow me? So yeah, let me get this situated. I'll be back with you very soon. Okay, this vibe with us. Got me a good Guinness today. Oh man. Look at this game. So just sit back and chill. Okay, we'll be back shortly. Where your energy at? In the comment, I'm set up here. Okay. Getting set up. Thank you for joining us. Just sit back and vibe for a second. Any questions, any comments, any feedback? And while you're just chilling and relaxing, I want you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Namaste Thug Wellness. True Heart on the Guard.
The greater satisfaction will be my being able to come back across alive and spit in the face of those.
You're working on the tolerance right now. I ain't want to just leave y'all just out there in social media world without, hey, that energy. We got people on the way, so it's not about my time. It's about our time. It's about being selfless, not selfish. When we're being selfish, it's about me. When we're being selfless, it's about we. It's about we-ness, not me.
Begin to live, die young, and be looking for the world. What's life after death? If a guy thinks his soul transfers.
Oh, we got two people on. That's what's up. Let's give us a minute. This is like a little vibe session, just to relax and settle in. Any comments? Put them in. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, I'm setting up my back office so I can see your comments, feedback. Please share it. Happy Thursday, y'all. Looks like vibe session. I got no peoples on the way, so just chill with me, man. Just working on a little. It'll be your background music while you vibe. Okay, set up there. Okay. Okay. How was your day today? You had any revelations about yourself today? The one you and I, it's a vibe session for you and I. Where that energy at? Yes, man. I remember the time I was nowhere near this delighted within myself. And now, man, please. Somebody would have told me I'd have been this happy, I would never believe them. But I had to start owning my shit. That's all I had to do. Yeah. Okay, getting this situated here. All the groups plugged in. Okay. They are. Mhm. In a few minutes, I know I said 7 o'clock. We got a couple of people coming. Give me like 5 to 10 more minutes. So got the music. Give you vibe. This would be a good time to drop any comment that you got all my full attention right now. Drop it if you on YouTube. It will come up here. If you're in the social media, it'll come up. I'm watching that Kanye trilogy. I'm feeling that. I see a little Kanye West in me a little bit there, you know. We got my boy Les pulling up right now. I told you just chill, they coming. Let me give you a view of outside how we vibing, how we vibe. Get another view of the sky. We outside. We are definitely outside. Come on, brother. Yeah, we outside the outside office. Brother Les just pulling up. Mm-hmm. What's up, my brother? You doing wonderful yourself? Nice. Ideal time I was setting up, making presents known. How you did, man? Oh, watching this how you went out? Oh yeah, you like gonna do right here is go back. I like it. It showed me who he was. Where he went through. You know how that stuff can change you. And kind of put you away from things and come go back and come back to things for you. That's in the evolution. Really find the life, you know. Now, see, now I'm like on the chapter 3, it's called Act 3, Awakening. Yeah. You saw us?
Yes, sir.
What you feel? How you feel about it?
I like the man. The guy was genius.
Yeah.
He's very, very smart. He I see what he, you know, how they say, you know, they call people crazy, but it's because he's so ahead of his time. There's so much stuff.
Right.
You know, and, and, and how you can tell someone is really into what they do is they they're sold to, like they put their heart into it.
We read about that last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So watching that about him being a genius and then him being a master in what he does is such a beautiful thing to read about it and then see him become the master in actually what he does from such what like age 13. Like age 13 he started dealing that.
Yeah. So since he was so young.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. You know, it's I guess in the beginning you're so I guess everybody has you're so inspired to go for it, to reach that whatever you know that place that you want to get to, to meet your idols, to meet the people that you look up to be them, right? Especially if you're outside and you're trying to get inside, like let me in as a fan, and then once you get inside, you're like, dang, this is how it really is.
Right.
Right. You know, it's only so long you can keep that natural high. You know, until the environment just starts to. It's like the Matrix when Agent Smith just fits in, your whole body starts to transform.
Right.
You know, so much where the environment contaminates you. Right. You just get so fed up. You know, I've seen humble, nice teachers in school go from that to the students making them the most meanest teacher. Right. Because they're not prepared for it, you know, and they come in with good intentions, but it just takes you over, man. But you know, besides that, every artist, every celebrity goes through their stuff. You notice that.
Fact. It's all about how they handle it.
Yeah.
It's all about how they handle it. What was cool to see him talk about mental health.
Him? Yeah.
Yeah, about how like I feel the same way too. Bipolar has been a blessing for me. But then looking at the bipolarism, how it's tied into being genius too. So unlabeling yourself with it, but using that same label to empower yourself. Yeah. Like, oh man, no wonder why I feel that way, because you ahead of your time. Yeah. They're not gonna relate to it. So you just, and this book talks about it. You have the task of making something invisible become visible to other people. Because you can see it's your vision, but now how I'm gonna take something that's invisible within me and make it visible and comprehensible to you. Yeah. So that's a lot of time what we struggle with. And then if we're not patient or understanding and they don't get it, we'll get aggressive like that Moses energy. Y'all don't get it, so fuck it, don't worry about it. Yeah. I get caught up in that. Yeah, so now I gotta understand, if I'm giving something new to you, this is new to your spiritual palette. I gotta be very patient and very tolerant and allowing you to move when you feel comfortable. Not because it makes sense to me, that makes sense to you before you move. Yeah. And I kind of see how his mama gave him that. Yeah, his mama was his foundation. It's like she was, baby, do it, dog. Like, you're rocking.
You know, you usually got one person, one fan.
Yeah.
Especially if it's your own parent.
Very organic.
It goes so far, man. close to the heart.
Yeah.
And that's also goes into, I think, what's his name, Dr. Johnson talks about that. He talks about how a lot of rappers, they're so, you see some mothers, they just baby the child so much, right? Where it's to a point where it's like bad. But Dr. Umar Johnson said some rappers usually will see them, especially our brothers who grew up in the community, where it's only the mother in the house taking care of them.
Right.
So when they make it, like, yo, I'm trying to buy my mom the house, trying to buy my mom the Rolex, because they have that. There's such a strong connection.
Yeah.
Such a strong connection that they believe in the mother for everything. Yeah, mom, I believe you.
Yeah, mama's boy.
Mama's boy.
Yeah, I'm the same way, because who else I got?
Right.
Like, so I get the mentality, but also too, it's a mental perspective too. So now you almost married to your mama. Like, that's your girl. So yeah. Everybody gotta go through their mom. Yeah, I'm the same way.
I wanted to say that, but I didn't want to say it.
Yeah. Mama's boy, man. I get it.
Even though watching the video, it's saying some villages in Africa, they don't once it's time for that boy to go through the rites of passage, they take him from his mom, and he goes through the rites of passage, and when he comes back to the village, he's not able to have interaction with his mother anymore. He still sees his mom, but he can't have that interaction anymore because you have to break that chain from the child to now adulthood.
They're breaking that bond.
Yeah. It's still a respect thing, but there's certain things you have to follow in terms of laws and orders to make things going.
Facts.
So yeah, when the point I'm trying to make to that is that deep connection. When you meet somebody like that,
yeah,
you don't know how you're gonna react, But now we see,
it's traumatizing, bro. I went through that when I was my great grandfather passed.
Oh, yeah?
He passed all of a sudden.
Oh, okay.
Just out of nowhere, and that was actually that's a relationship that closed me off from going to be hurt again. From him dying all of a sudden. And I was probably like 8 years old.
Oh, that's young.
Yeah, man. So I think what he went through at his age, I went through at 8.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I definitely get it. Like, we were so close. We going to the football game, me, him, and my mom. He in the back seat with me, chilling, talking to me.
Okay.
And he just walked through. Actually came home one day, walked through the front door, and died from a heart attack.
Oh, man.
You know what I'm saying? Just all of a sudden, like, I cried, bro. I cried 3 days straight. Yeah, man, that shit fucked my mind up. But then, if I'm 8, I'm born in 73, so this like 1981. Who's gonna counsel an 8-year-old? Like, he'll be all right. He just, in the melanated community, we don't help people bereave the loss of that. Yeah. I couldn't understand what I was feeling. Yeah, I remember telling myself, look, I don't want to ever feel this way again. I'm closing my heart off. If anything comes close to that, and most women think it's a woman that hurt me. Like, nah, man. My great grandfather passed all of a sudden. That's a relationship that hurt me. That made me feel like I don't want to feel like that's worse than death to me. Because I'm thirsting for something I can never have again. Yeah. Yeah, and a thirst can't be quenched unless you get. I'm thirsting for that, so it can never be quenched again.
I feel with you because even with you're going back 19, that's 4 years ago. So and at that time things were still, there was these conversations, the technology, internet opened it up to where now we now dive deeper into trauma. I'm not sure if you ever go on Google Trends, or if you type in the word on Google, it shows you the definition. But if you click down, it shows you the time in the past 100 years when it was most often used. And you see that the line going up or going down. And sometimes I'll look up a word and I'll see when that word was most popular. And if you look at trauma is more popular now. That word has always been in existence, but it's not in use now.
Right, it's more prevalent now. What you're saying? Wow, it makes sense. I'm saying it makes sense. Yeah. You coming from a data standpoint, which makes plenty of sense to my mind. So that's facts. That's truth. Like you saying, like it's trauma. So now that leads me to understand what's going on right now that's causing so much trauma in these times compared to other times too. So my main thing is this: like the more implement now of fear, and then also internet. Like even the suicide rate went up once we got internet. So now there's so much outside influence that is now you don't have no true place to know validity of who you are as a person.
Yeah.
You might go to church, it's not quite sure. You might go here, not quite sure. So not everybody kind of in the limbo of who really am I. So you already confused and looking outside in, and you can't financially help yourself, nourish yourself. Like, so how you, what you got going on?
Diagnose yourself.
Yeah, like, you follow me? So now it's a different dichotomy from when I came up. I didn't have all this coming up.
Yeah.
I was born in '73, so TV went off at 12 o'clock. There's certain things I wasn't subjected to that people are subjected to now. So I'm like, whoa, there's always something to keep your attention outside of you.
Yeah.
When the TV went off at a certain time, you couldn't do nothing but either go to sleep, read, self-reflect, something else. But now, sometimes I catch myself watching TV till the sun come up, occupying myself. But back then, I didn't have that. So what we do, we go to sleep. We'll get a rest. We'll let our body recharge. So now, I ain't go to sleep. I got my trauma, and the trauma I watched on TV stressed me. And I did not get enough sleep. So now I'm walking around, I'm traumatized. Yeah, so I'm seeing how it's through energetic transference with transferring trauma from my conscious, subconscious, and our DNA level. That's why it's so important to actually become aware of our consciousness, to transcend consciousness and get to pure awareness, which is way above consciousness. Consciousness means that you breathing, but where is your energy at? It's being drawn in. This chapter speaks about the attractive factors in our brain that are put there so we don't need randomly act out. Like something controlling us through our brain so we don't randomly act out. Like
barriers.
Yeah. It's like a program. So look, so damn. So it's that question like, what program they're programmed to make it seem like you broken in chaos, but something's actually governing your mind to make sure you don't act out randomly. Yeah. So it kind of speaks about that, and then you asked me like, why did we start at chapter 1?
Yeah, you told me.
Right. So understanding now, like you could be a genius. The different levels of different verbs, different adjectives. I mean, the different levels of from 20 to 1,000, what you want to be. So now when we start reading chapter 1 and above, it's gonna make more sense to you. We're gonna start seeing about linear, non-linear, like the law system depends on initial conditions, the butterfly effect. It's just showing you like basically what you're doing, you are on the right path.
Say it again.
Basically, what you're doing, it's going to show you're on the right path.
I'm on the right path.
Because it's like a ship. If a ship is 1 degree off, after a while, it's going to be 100 miles off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 1 degree off, a ship can be 100 miles off later. Yeah. That's the law of sensitive dependence on initial conditions. So same thing with us. If we keep adding positivity into day, within the amount of time, we can push through to a different energy. Yeah. And this chapter kind of breaks that down like, oh shit. Like, wow, it's like a formula. It's like a word for that. So now with us, we live in a contextual world. I need something that's tangible. Like, damn, I can look up that. Like, whoa. So now within you, you kind of laying that seed to help harvest your new self coming through.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and you can handle it like now it makes sense. You can think, damn, I am a genius. Let me sit here and look at myself from a different perspective, which is super dope.
Yeah, I agree.
What time we got here? Okay, we can get started, brother.
Young lady not coming today?
She was doing hair.
Oh, okay.
And she does nails too, so just life, man. Just mean you can rock. You comfortable right there?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got any people on the line yet?
Yeah.
How many?
Say it again.
You got any people on the line yet?
Oh no, it was 2 at first. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so it's chapter 1, right?
Yes.
Critical advances in knowledge. So you want to get the first page or just the chapter? So you'll stop me.
So how it's gonna rock is yes, and but what you do is break it down, and you're a pretty smart dude too. So when you break it down in something that seems kind of prevalent, just kind of pause there for a second.
Yeah, I was reading this before I got
here. Yeah, because there's so much like new information. You try to do it at one like it's like a word gumbo. Kind of confuse your mind.
It's a lot of words.
Yes. So please take it easy with it.
I got you. Okay. All right. The evolution of this work, which began in 1965, was fostered by developments in numerous scientific fields, of which three were the special, of which three were of special importance: clinical research of the physiology of the nervous system and the holistic functioning of the human organism resulted in the development in the 1970s of the new science of kinesiology. Kinesiology.
Kinesiology.
Kinesiology.
But yeah, pause for a 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
So kinesiology is just showing that
The movement.
the mind and the body is connected.
Yeah.
So if I'm thinking positive, my muscles gonna be strong. If I'm thinking negative, they're gonna be weak. That what kinesiology is showing. Just 'cause a lot of time they thought the mind and the body was separate. Kinesiology like, oh no, they actually together. It's a oneness of. That makes sense. I know one time I spoke about kinesiology. This actually breaks down the show like from the 70s. They were aware of the connection. We're just becoming aware of it. So now when we understand the verb, like, oh, kinesiology, like, whoa, it's a whole. You look at people go to school for this, understand that. Yeah. Go ahead.
Meanwhile, in the technological arena, computers were being designed that were capable of millions of calculations in milliseconds, making possible the new tools of artificial intelligence. This abrupt access to formerly inconceivable masses of data beget a revolutionary perspective on natural phenomena, chaos theory. Simultaneously, in the theoretical sciences, quantum mechanics led to advanced theoretical physics through associated mathematics. A whole new study of nonlinear dynamics emerged.
Okay, pause for a second. See, when they went to quantum physics, that's the small movement. So that's where nonlinear dynamics came in at. They thought linear means A, B, and then C. Non-linear means they all happen at the same time. So this like now they get, oh, we can prove that it's non-linear. So this actually adding to the chaos theory. Because then what it felt like if it didn't make sense, we get rid of it. But the chaos theory brought a reason back that the invisible actually has a presence and has some indebted to it. Yes, no doubt.
This was one of the most far-reaching developments of modern science, the long-term impact of which has yet to be realized. How you say that word again?
Kinesiology?
Kinesiology exposed for the first time the intimate connection between mind and body.
Read that one more time again.
Kinesiology exposed for the first time the intimate connection between mind and body, revealing that the mind thinks with the body itself.
Wow, the mind thinks with the body itself. So if I'm thinking something, the body gonna respond as if that's what it is.
Thence it provided an avenue for the exploration of the ways consciousness reveals itself and of subtle mechanisms behind these processes. Advanced computers permitting the depiction through graphics of mass amounts of data disclose unsuspected systems within what had been ignored by Newtonian physics as indecipherable or meaningless, chaotic data.
See how they do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just meaningless. So in their mind, don't make sense to them. It's meaningless, but how can you get the full equation? You got everything that's actually involved in it. Like that's part of the ego. Like that's
that is right there.
Yeah.
Theoreticians in diverse fields were suddenly able to intimate, coherent ways of understanding data that had been considered incoherent or nonlinear, diffuse or chaotic, and therefore inaccessible through conventional probabilistic logical theory and mathematics.
So you see what they're saying? Like if it don't fit in their equation of mathematics, like just get rid of it.
Yeah, it's not important. Even with I don't know, like years ago, I learned that Native Americans they don't want to say anything. If during the time Native Americans they would take down a buffalo and strip it all the way down, even like the bones and teeth, they would use that even as jewelry, right? So they knew themselves that hey, everything's important. Even though we're killing it, it's all important. Analysts of this seemingly incoherent data identified hidden energy patterns
Mm-hmm.
or attractors,
Mm-hmm.
which had been postulated postulated by the advanced mathematics of nonlinear equations.
Can you read that? We start over from there again and see what it says.
Yeah. Analysis
Mm-hmm.
of this seemingly incoherent data
Mm-hmm.
identified hidden energy patterns or attractors, which had been postulated by the advanced mathematics of nonlinear equations.
Mm-hmm.
These existed beyond apparently random natural phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
Computer graphics clearly demonstrated the designs of these attractive fields, the implicit potential of analyzing supposedly unpredictable systems in such desperate areas as fluid mechanics,
Mm-hmm.
human biology,
Mm-hmm.
and stellar astronomy appeared to be limitless.
Mm-hmm. That frog power.
That's a frog?
Yeah.
The public, however, has remained generally unaware of the field of nonlinear dynamics.
Read that again. Read that again. What did you said?
The public, however,
Mm-hmm.
has remained generally unaware of the field of nonlinear dynamics.
Isn't that amazing? The public isn't aware of this at all. Like, yeah, that's not. That don't seem like interested in you.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like why the public don't know about the non-linear aspects of actually what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it said right here, like it's not like it's encoded. It's like right here saying the public don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Continue, brother. I forgot where you was at.
I see it. Right about the parentheses.
Mm-hmm.
Except for the appearance in the marketplace of some intriguing new computer graphics patterns generated by fractal geometry. During the era preceding these revelations, linear science had grown progressively divorced from concern with the basis of life itself. All life processes are, in fact, nonlinear.
Mm-hmm.
This isolation was also characteristic of medicine,
Mm-hmm.
which, when presented with the amazing discoveries of kinesiology,
Kinesiology.
kinesiology
Mm-hmm.
merely ignored the information because it had no context, no paradigm of reality
Mm-hmm.
with which to comprehend it. Medicine had forgotten that it was an art and that science was merely a tool of that art.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes back to like what we said earlier, like if they don't understand it, they just throw it away.
Mm-hmm.
And and um and we know this is similar to the overall that what you said ego.
Mm-hmm.
This is overall ego is in everything that they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
From their science to the medicine. I'm talking about Europeans now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To how they interact socially, all their choices and what they like.
Mm-hmm.
So the point I'm trying to make is even with people, how we're talking about Kanye West.
Yes.
And just what he went through.
Mm-hmm.
People will call him crazy, or and whatnot to say, yo, you have mental problems.
Mm-hmm.
Or if at the time, if you started to lash out, or even now, if a child lashes out, the teacher or parent or people around them will say, he's a bad kid, this and that, and they'll be very dismissive. They're just the dismissive, just throw it away to the side. Yo, you're crazy, so let's just put you over here. So this is the same thing, when looking at it in modern day.
Facts.
Right.
And to discredit you as well too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no validation to it.
Mm.
During the era preceding these.
You want me to read something? You good?
Huh?
You want me to read?
Oh yeah,
go ahead. Good. No, I didn't want to just overwork you like that.
Okay.
During the era preceding these.
Actually, we're gonna the next one, the bottom one. We're starting.
Oh, within medicine.
Yeah.
Psychiatrical.
Yeah.
Had always been held at a distance by traditionalists because it dealt with the immeasurables of human life. You see, that dealt with the immeasurables of human life, so the psychiatric part of it was held at a distance of the human life and therefore appeared less scientific. That is from the Newton viewpoint. Academic psychiatry in the fact made major scientific breakthroughs and the need some light out here.
It's psycho
And the
pharma
psychopharmaceutical,
no psycho
psychopharmacological.
yeah, that's it.
Since the latest 1950s, however, it remains the most nonlinear area of medicine. Remember, it's the psychopharmacological is the most non-linear, remains the most non-linear of medicine. Most people don't realize this. It's a form, and it's a form of medicine too. So kind of we tapping into something different that people are tapping into just actually reading this book. So now your mind like, oh shuck, it's something called non-linear. Like I can really connect to that, and most people don't. Like whoa. It remains the most non-linear area of medicine, examining such subjects as intuition, decision making, and the whole phenomenon of life as a process. Although in academic psychiatric
Literature.
literature, there is little mention of such things as love, meaning, value, or will in psychiatrical discipline. At least essays of somewhat larger view of man than other traditional medicine fields. See, what they're saying is nonlinear is a medicine that people not using because it's a medicine that actually heals you and it helps you connect with how your energy tracker feels. It's going to go into deeper details of how the brain attracts either low or high attractive field called strange energy field. So understand like how my brain is hardwired to attract certain things, kind of changing that. But we got two people next. That makes sense. Anything you want to say about that? Any feedback?
No, that makes sense.
Okay. Next one, please.
Regardless of what branch of inquiry one starts from, philosophy, political theory, theology, etc., all avenues of investigation eventually converge at a common meeting point, the quest for an organized understanding of the nature of pure consciousness.
Say that. Read that last sentence again.
Says, the quest for an organized understanding of the nature of pure consciousness. But all of the major enterprises in human knowledge discussed above, even kinesiology and nonlinear dynamics, halted at this last greater barrier to human knowledge, the investigation of the nature of consciousness itself. So, what I think this one means here is it's like the Europeans are so superficial that they don't understand. Like to us, I'm like, how can you not see the relation with what you're looking at as science or your science to nature itself? Because from nature comes science. Nature comes from all that stuff. So like I've said this before, it's funny how they're discovering it when this has always been here the whole time.
That I was just winging. Go ahead, listening. So do you? So I hear what you saying. Europeans, I don't think they're discovering it. They're just admit to what it is now.
They're just admitting.
Yes, because remember in the Dark Ages, they were in the Dark Ages because they felt like they didn't need they didn't need God. The Europeans. So it's not like they don't know, but it's like once again, when they put their hand on, they won't say, "Oh, I discovered." Now maybe they will do it their way. Their way isn't working no more. So now they're gonna say, "Okay, now I discovered this what it is." That's all it is. Yeah, man. So that's why a lot of times we don't get tied up in that because we know what they are from day one.
Yeah.
But now this right here is going beyond consciousness. We're going to a pure awareness that nobody can touch it. It can't be tampered with the essence of it. But now if you get food to call up, that's basically a choice on us now. It's not like we don't have options and access to things.
I agree. Some advanced thinkers, it is true, went beyond the parameters of their respective fields and began to ask questions about the relationship between the universe, science, and consciousness, and its experience as mind. We will refer to their theories and their impact on the advance of human understanding as we proceed. You want to read the next one? And continue.
Got you. Yeah, I can read it. Once I can. Oh, when I bring the light over, that's what I got out here. That definitely helps. 1,000%. Beam and go. Will you write in as much as everything?
No, the bottom one. The thesis, the last chapter, the last little bit.
What page you on? I don't turn the page.
It's 61.
Okay. Oh, got you. I turned the page already. The thesis of the present word derives from
The al al game
amalgamating
yeah,
amalgamating these several scientific disciplines into a methodology. So they got two disciplines and made a methodology of it. So basically, wow, this is something else. But elegantly simple and rewarding. We have therefore found that consciousness can indeed be investigated, although no roadmap for such a study has ever been made available. Research into the subjects has produced its own design, and with it, the context needed to comprehend its findings. So they're getting new findings about nonlinear stuff that they're not telling us about, and understanding actually how it works. So if it belongs to everybody, we can apply it ourselves too. You follow me? Mm-hmm. The next one on you.
And as much as everything in the universe is connected from everything else, is connected with everything else, it is not surprising that one of the primary objectives of this study, a map of energy fields of consciousness, would correlate with and be corroborated by all other avenues of investigation, uniting the diversity of human experience and its expressions in an all-encompassing paradigm. Such an insight can bypass the artificial dichotomy between subject and object, transcending the limited viewpoint that creates the illusion of duality.
Can you read that? Start over because that was so deep. Start over from right here. All other avenues.
All other avenues of investigation, uniting the diversity of human experience and its expression in an all-encompassing paradigm.
Okay.
Such an insight can bypass the artificial dichotomy between subject and object.
Okay, pause there for a second. The dichotomy, I mean, it's like a two-piece, and the subject and object is the same exact thing. So if you think you're separate, you can never be whole.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, so now I understand it's an illusion. So if you get past the illusion that you're not separate, you're whole, you can move from a whole standpoint, not the dichotomy of I'm separate or that aspect. That's very empowering. Go ahead, brother, finish.
Yeah, transcending the limited viewpoint that creates the illusion of duality.
Read that again.
Transcending the limited viewpoint that creates the illusion of duality. The subjective and objective are, in fact, one and the same, as can be demonstrated without resorting to nonlinear equations or computer graphics. So I think what he's saying right here, I even highlighted, the subjective and objective are, in fact, one and the same, like you just said. They're both together. It's not separate.
But see what I say too. If we that transcend the limited viewpoint that creates the illusion of a duality.
Right.
So once we do that, and like what you said, once we transcend, because if we under a spell doesn't have an expiration date. It has to be broken. So we under a mental, spiritual, psychological spell. So we have to break that spell by transcending the illusion of a duality. And once you break that spell, now they might think like you Kanye West, because now you see stuff from a whole different paradigm. Like, oh, I was being used, I was being a puppet, and now I got to hit reset, and now I got to start over again from my spiritual self. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times depression and all that stuff is for me was spiritual collapse. Because now I'm thinking I'm doing it, which is the ego want to claim thoughts. Oh, that's my thought. This is my thought. I thought that I thought. That's the ego. But when you're not egoic, you're just flowing with it. Nothing is you. You give it to a higher essence. It's just coming through you. It's not you. And once you kind of come from that aspect, now we're just like you're just riding the frequency now.
Yeah, I agree. I was watching a video and the guy was saying you always want to be in flow. You know, always flow. And he says, even if you have a negative thought, right? Because we all, our mind, you can't control the mind.
Right.
It's always going to have, it's going to think of what it wants to think of. So
Facts.
just you thinking about it is just let yourself process it, because it's all a process. You're just going through it, but you want to be going through a whole flow.
And that's another good thing too, because we look at negative like it's a bad thing. But if you take a COVID test and it come up negative, that's a good thing to you, right?
Yeah, right.
You take an HIV test and come up negative, that's a good thing, right? But if it come up positive, like, oh shit. Yeah. So now we gotta change how we look at negative and positive. It's just showing you a result. It's not good or bad. It's our perception of what it is. If you get something negative besides that, you enjoy that. You see what I'm saying? So it can't be either. It has to be that way. It just is. Yeah. Like your battery has to have a negative and a positive. Your phone has to have both of them. So they don't say it was bad. Without that negative, it can't charge it. It can't function. But in our life, when something negative, we look down on it. No, it's part of the whole flow. Yeah. Right? The negative and the positive, we can't flow. They need each other to balance each other off. It's like male and female, up and down, left or right. If there was no down, how we know what up would be? If there was no light, how we know what dark would be? So we have to look at it from that non-linear aspect, not so just linear.
Yeah. And even you mentioning that, you know, if there was no down, I would agree with it. So and soon as we're gonna talk about measurement, right? Using measurement in a form to support if there's a change in something, but not to use measurement in a form of letting that be the end all be all. Yo, I need this to
right. Facts.
Right. Oh yeah, the question I had was, is there a place for the duality?
Say it again.
Is there a place for duality?
Yeah, lower vibration.
Okay.
Yeah. If you want to be in low vibration, because that's the illusion. You're not. There's no duality in you. That you're not in pieces. That's the illusion. So the place for duality is in the illusion or the matrix state.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got
you. You want to transcend that.
I got you. The subjective and objective are, in fact, one and the same, as can be demonstrated without resorting to nonlinear equations or computer graphics. By identifying subjective and objective as the same, we are able to transcend the constraints of the concept of time, which by its very definition is a major hindrance to the comprehension of the nature of life.
Okay, read that all over again, brother. That is so juicy there.
By identifying subjective and objective as the same.
Pause. So by identifying subjective and objective as the same, right? Go ahead.
We are able to transcend the constraints of the concept of time.
Heard that? Restraints of the concept. It's a concept of time that we need to transcend. And this basically kind of giving you the formula how to transcend the concept of time if your mind will allow it to kind of dissolve it, because it's heavy. It's like a thick broth. It's something you never heard before. But now the ego like, hold on, wait, do what? Like, hell no, that gotta be bullshit. So now like, hold on, read it again. Like, oh, I get it. Go ahead and finish.
Which by its very definition is a major hindrance to comprehension of nature of life,
right?
Especially in its expression as a human experience. If in actuality the so-called subjective and objective are really one and the same, then we can find the answers to all questions by merely looking within man himself.
Okay, right. Read that. If start off again, we'll say if in actuality, and slow that down, please, because that's deep right there.
If in actuality the so-called subjective and objective are really one and the same, then we can find the answers to all questions by merely looking within man himself.
The answers within. If we have the time to look, within.
Yeah.
The courage too. His courage look within.
That's true. By simply recording observations, we can see a grand picture emerge, one that predicts no limitations to the extent of further investigation.
Man.
Yeah, like you said, in the past, you say just 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 being an observer. You know, just observing it. To continue, all of us have available at all times a computer far more advanced than most elaborate artificial intelligence machine.
Read that again, please.
All of us have available at all times a computer far more advanced than the most elaborate artificial intelligence machine, the human mind itself.
Wow.
The basic function of any measuring device is simply to give a signaling indicating a signal indicating the detection by the instrument of a slight change.
Read that sentence again, please.
The basic function of any measuring device is simply to give a signal indicating the detection by the instrument of a slight change, which is what I said earlier. Yeah.
And that's what the brain is. That's what it detects, a slight change.
Yeah.
So that was kind of break it down. Like a lot of times we don't know what the brain is. It's actually showing you like truly the function of the brain. And the most thing we want the brain to do is out of its function. That's why we can't sleep. That's why we can't eat, because we give it a task it can't complete.
Like what?
Keep me safe. Don't let people talk about me. Don't let me have a bad day. That's not the brain situation. The brain ain't here to keep us safe. That's not the brain here for.
That's those things you just mentioned maybe are outside of the brain.
But no, that's what we telling the brain to do.
Okay.
Make sure I avoid embarrassment. Make sure this don't happen. The brain doesn't control that. So now it's trying to overwork to do something it can't do. It's a task. It's trying to perform a task that it can't do. So now you see why it's running. You run yourself kind of rapid. But now to help you understand what's the purpose of the brain and actually what the brain is doing. That makes sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And I was going to say something about that.
Please do.
So when they created the computer, they created it, and based off of a human being, to be able to do things manually without having to manually do it, or automatically without having to do it. But like you said earlier in the beginning, if they don't understand something, they just throw it away.
Fact.
And I think when they're creating it, they miss that part. And I wonder how the computer would be now if they didn't miss that part and they added it into it. Will we still need it, or would the computer be different?
Well, see, once again, that kind of goes back to here. We have the best computer in us, but we instead of projecting on something outside to be that, we never going to use the best computer we have already hardwired in us. The computer came from us anyway, so we put that same energy within us. You can connect way more than a simple computer because each year they get updated. You already got the best computer inside you right now. What they're trying to put in a computer, the essence of life can't go on a computer. That's why I say you. Yeah, so they can't do it. That way you got now they're trying to make AI actually think for itself. That's how I'm making it human. You follow me? So now that's not,
Can't do that.
That's very fleshly. They're trying to make something that's a computer fleshly. So they attempt with two different worlds right now. Yeah. Different energies.
In the experiments to be described in this book, the reactions of the human body itself provide such a signal of change in conditions. As well as will be seen, the body can discern to the finest degree the difference between that which is supportive of life and that which is not.
Read that again, please. From when I say the body is able to.
The human body itself provides such a signal of change in conditions. As will be seen, the body can discern to the finest degree the difference between that which is supportive of life and that which is not.
Wow, that show you how intricate our body is already. If you get out the way, the body can do it by itself.
Yeah,
that's showing you the body's not yours. The body is your universe. But we so egotistical. We're trying to say mind, and we're taking so far off course that we're throwing ourselves off. That's why we're so sick. But we get out of that egoic thinking, the body can reset itself and kind of come back to actually healing itself.
We should not be surprised at this. Living things all react to what is life supported and what is not.
Right.
This is the fundamental mechanism of survival.
Read that again, please.
Living things all react to what is life supportive and what is not. This is the fundamental mechanism of survival. Inherent in all life forms is the capacity to detect change and react correctively.
Read that again from inherently.
Inherent in all life forms is the capacity to detect change and react correctly. Thus, trees become smaller at higher elevations as the oxygen in the atmosphere becomes scarcer. Human human pro human protoplasm is far more sensitive than that of a tree.
Pause. You get what they're saying?
Yeah. So I looked this up. It's from what the definition says when I search it up. It's a colorless. It's something colorless within the cell itself.
What?
This word.
What? Protoplasm?
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, but yeah, I get what you're saying. It goes back to what I said earlier just now. The instrument of a slight change. How the body's able to detect anything, and even the tree has knowledge of itself. I know. This this environment seems different, so I can't do how my brothers over in California with these big tall trees do it. So now I'm restricted, and I have to stay within these laws and order this wall.
Right.
That makes sense.
Right? Yes, plenty of sense. Yeah. So what I got from this is, you see where I say trees become smaller at higher altitudes because the oxygen in the atmosphere becomes scarce.
Yes.
But then it shows the human protoplasm is more sensitive than that of a tree. So if a tree can't grow in high altitude because there's a lack, imagine how we grow when we're in a lack environment. Because our protoplasm is way more sensitive than the tree. So that's what it's saying. We're more sensitive than the tree. So anywhere there's lack, we can't grow. So now we can't grow spiritually, we can't grow emotionally, we can't grow financially. Our wellness is all fucked up because based on scarcity. So now we have to understand, okay, whoa, like this is going on at a deep level because I'm so affiliated with scarcity. Now you might never change your form of scarcity, but can I go other places to get it to get out of that energy to feel what scarcity doesn't feel like, so I can keep myself balanced. You can't change your environment just like that, but you can go play that to the beach to kind of get that off because the vibe changes. When you go around scarcity people, I feel like a denser energy. It sticks. Sometimes it has like a smell to it. I can smell like it's like a lack has to me has a low density energy and has a smell to it to me. Like it's not it's a foul smell. Yeah. So just understanding like how important the invisible is. So when you feel it, it's just your body knows like, hey, this not right for me. Let me hit it and just kind of follow it.
Yeah, I agree. It's and even with that, like even in the past, since since now modern days we lack a lot of stuff that we need.
Facts.
We're still able to survive. So some way somehow we're able to find it's like a universe or our body knows, hey, I know you're not there yet in that environment that you need to be. So I'm gonna still keep you alive, but at the same time we're still getting like just little droplets of something to keep us going. So that's how strong we are.
Facts. Gotcha.
The methodology proceeding from the study of nonlinear dynamics, which we employ in this work of developing a map of the fields of human consciousness, is known as attractor research.
Read that again, please.
The methodology proceeding from the study of nonlinear dynamics, which we employed in this work of developing a map of the fields of human consciousness, is known as attractor research. It is concerned with the identification of power ranges of energy fields utilizing critical point analysis. Critical point analysis is a technique derived from the fact that in any highly complex system, there is a specific critical point at which the smallest input will result in the greatest change.
Keep going.
For instance, the great gears of a windmill can be halted by lightly touching the right escape mechanism, and it is possible to paralyze a giant locomotive if you know exactly where to put your finger. Critical point analysis is a technique derived from the fact that in any highly complex system, there is a specific critical point at which the smallest input will result in the greatest change. For instance, the great gears of a windmill can be halted by lightly touching the right escape mechanism, and it is possible to paralyze a giant locomotive if you know exactly where to put your finger.
Okay, pause for a second. You heard that part where I said the critical point, and it's something that if you touch it very lightly on any small part, it can halt something like that. So understanding how something so small can happen to you and shut you down. You think something wrong with you? No, that's just a critical point. It touched something, applied just enough pressure to shut your whole shit down. And I was like, okay, now how do I take that pressure off that critical point? So now if I'm in my emotions, I'm not thinking about a critical point. I'm thinking, oh, why me? What's going on? But it kind of helps understand, no, it's a critical point. So now let me get out of my emotions, see where that pressure is on that critical point. That makes sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Continue.
Yeah. Let me just read that part over. Critical point analysis is a technique derived from the fact that in any highly complex system, there is a specific critical point at which the smallest input will result in the greatest change. For instance, the great gears of a windmill can be halted by lightly touching the right escape mechanism, and it is possible to paralyze a giant locomotive if you know exactly where to put your finger. Nonlinear dynamics enables these significant patterns to be identified in complex presentations, even when they are obscured by incoherence or sheer mass of indecipherable data.
Read that again for me, please.
Nonlinear dynamics enables these significant patterns to be identified in complex presentations, even when they are obscured by incoherence or sheer mass of indecipherable data.
Indecipherable data gets in the way.
Uh, it it discovers the relevance in what the world discards as irrelevant, using an entirely different approach and totally different methods methods of problem resulting from the ones the world is used to. You want to take this next part?
Whoa, what is that? But before the attempt, that's where you finished off? You finished off right here?
No, I'm on page 64. I'm right. That's where you start. The world.
Got you. The world unconceivably assumes that the processing of problems requires starting from the known, the question or condition, and moving on to the unknown, the so-called answer, in time sequence following defined steps and logical progression. Nonlinear dynamics moves in the opposite direction from the unknown, the non-determined data of the question, to the known, to the answer. I'm gonna read that again. The world conceivably assumes that the processing of problems requires starting from the known, the question or conditions, and move on to the unknown, the so-called answer. That's the world believes that. I gotta go from the unknown, like what's happening now, and go from there. But then it says nonlinear dynamics move in the opposite direction from the unknown. We got a little discrepancy out here right now, a little aggression going on. Outside office action, man. They can't help it. That's how they speak. They're saying hello. That's all. No animals are being harmed while we filming this book club. Okay, just let you know. Nonlinear dynamics moves in the opposite direction from the unknown, the non-determined data of the question to the known, the answer. It operates within a different paradigm of causality. The problem is seen as one of the definitions and access rather than the logic of the sequence, as in solving a problem by definitely differentiating equations. So this isn't trying to be math class. It's going from the unknown. So how could you deal with the unknown? You gotta kind of sit still and be quiet. Yeah, you can't do it from your thought process. Most time we're not thinking, we're recalling past situations. That's not gonna get us to the non-linear. Because the only way you thinking is like if it has something to do with present moment right now. Anything else is just recalling something from the past or projecting to the future. So when you're reading, you're being present because you have to call out each word. But probably after that, you might jump somewhere. Then you got to bring yourself back present. So this kind of goes into the invisible. Let me go to the non-linear. And kind of let me go to the unknown and then deal with that. So then when it manifests into the known, it's kind of basically ideally how I want it.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Anything want to add to that?
No, I guess you're right on point with that one. Then the next point is, but before we attempt to define the questions of this study further, let us examine some of the material we have introduced in greater detail. Attractors. Attractor is the name given to an identifiable pattern that emerges from a seemingly unmeaningful mass of data.
Can you read that again, please? What attractors are?
Attractor is attractor is the name given to an identifiable pattern that emerges from a seemingly unmeaningful mass of data. There is a hidden coherence in all that appears incoherent.
Read that again.
There is a hidden coherence in all that appears incoherent. This inner coherence was first demonstrated in nature by Edward Lorenz in studying computer graphics derived from weather patterns over long courses of time. The attractor pattern he identified is now quite famous as Lorentz butterfly. Different types of attractors are denoted by different names. For instance, strange attractors. But most important to our research is the discovery that most patterns are very powerful and others are much weaker.
Read that again, please.
But most important to
for instance, spring, yeah, start for me, is it?
For instance, strange attractors. But most important to our research is the discovery that some patterns are very powerful and others are much weaker. There is a critical point that differentiates the two distinct classes.
That I wrote again, critical point.
This phenomenon is parallel and correlate to the high and low energy bonds in the mathematics of the chemical bond.
Okay, let's pause there for a second. So now right here, what time is it? 8:15?
8:16.
Okay, 8:16. We gonna stop here because they gotta be booked on in 2 weeks. But let's just sit here for a second and dive into attractors. This is something invisible that now what's in is tangible and can be used. So attractor is the name given to an identifiable pattern that emerges from a seamless, unmeaningful mass of data. Like like that to me when I read that, that was mind blowing. The first paragraph, because this whole paragraph is under attractors. So attractor is a name given to a identifiable pattern that emerges from a seamless, unmeaningful mass of data. There is a hidden coherence in all that appears incoherent. So what is this thing that's something that seems incoherent that's coherent that's actually in these attractive patterns? What you think that is? That this didn't pop out to you when you read that?
Yeah, that popped out to me. I think they're talking about is that that non-linear that can't be measured. I think there was something else he said earlier.
What do you think it is? What do you feel it is from your perspective? And you hearing this right here. Attractor is the name given to identify your pattern that emerges from a seamless, unmeaningful mass of data. Like when you heard that, you read it yourself. How did you feel within yourself when you read like, whoa?
I think it's just a strong force that you're very connected to or with.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you go somewhere and you're like, yo, I feel like home. Like this atmosphere feels good. It
Mm-hmm.
smells good.
Mm-hmm.
So I think whatever that is what you're attracted to, which is something that you can't really have words to describe it. It's just you can feel it, you can sense it.
Mm-hmm.
But like when somebody says, "Hey, how you know what you're looking for?" I'll know when I see it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Or when you feel it.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. When I read this right here, the first thing made it come to my mind was like a magnet. Like if I'm a magnet, what am I attracted that's gonna be candy? Because that's first I think about attracting. Like I'm not chasing, but I'm drawing something to me.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, what am I constantly putting my energy on? But that's gonna either attract higher or low energy field because it speaks about it here. So now in my attractive phase, what am I purposefully attracting within my vortex? And it said this inner coherence was first demonstrated in nature by Edward Lorenz in studying computer graphics derived from weather patterns over a long course of time. So if to me if this isn't displaying divinity, that invisible force,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any other data that's beyond consciousness, that this is almost like pure awareness.
Mm-hmm.
It's already encompassed in an invisible space. They call it chaos because their minds being so low vibration couldn't comprehend it, so they felt like it was obsolete data. They just like threw it to the side. But it's saying like this comes from something that's invisible, that's intangible. So now it makes you reopen your brain like, wow, like it's not talking about the Bible. It's not talking about any color. It's not talking about that. It's talking about that's available to everybody
Mm-hmm.
if we tune into it.
Mm-hmm.
Then it says, from him, it said different type of attractors are denoted by different names. For instance, strange attractors. The most important to research is discover the same patterns are very powerful and very weak. And no in between. Either I'm very powerful or very weak. Ain't no middle ground. It's the everything come in twos. Very powerful, very weak. Light, dark,
Mm-hmm.
plus, negative, male, female. We put a third in up for whatever reason, but that's how. But this kind of getting back to I guess, the organic formula of what it should be. That makes sense in your mind?
Yeah.
Yeah, the organicness of before we put our limited mind to start taking stuff out of it. Anything came to you? I don't want to be.
Yeah, it makes sense. I was just thinking about how many of the stuff, before modern day society,
Mm-hmm.
our ancestors,
Mm-hmm.
were already doing this without having to break it down in such detail.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was reading like this guy named Ivan Van Sertima. He said when a baby is born, a baby is already has knowledge
Mm-hmm.
because they went through that 9 months of preparing,
Mm-hmm.
of being in preparation for the world it's going to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So it has everything that it needs
Mm-hmm.
to live and survive, right? And I was watching this video as well last night about this funny. I'm seeing this here as chakras. I was watching this long video about chakras, and the guy was saying how um, all this stuff, like all these chakras, are all connected.
Mm-hmm.
None of them are separate.
Right.
They're all together, and um, it just brings me back to to what he said earlier is all this stuff is already here. The
Mm-hmm.
mind and the body is already connected, so it's not separate.
You gotta look on the inside.
Yeah.
Then it says there is a critical point. So remember, going back to critical point, mean it's one place that we can put pressure on that will stop our whole shit.
Mm.
That differentiates the two distance classes. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very small between the low vibration and high vibration.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's saying. So it says the phenomenon is parallel and corollary to the high and low energy bonds in the mathematics that in the mathematics of the chemical bond. So it's kind of related to the mathematics too, and just to make it as a point of reference, but it goes way beyond that because from a low vibration to high vibration, there's a critical point. Critical point means it could be touched in one small space, one small place, and can stop the whole train. What it was, a windmill also said too. So understanding what's your critical point, where can you be touched at in a spiritual place that shuts your whole shit down. And then that critical point is reached and obtained. How do you not be emotional, but sit and see, you know what, let me go identify where I've been touched critically and release that pressure. And when I do that, I'm not taking it personal. I'm understanding the processes of being in a frequency in not just physical, but our spiritual self too. We are frequencies that's inside our body. And we think we're just flesh, like we won't be able to relate to critical points, understanding how we can change our energetic frequencies to different highs and lows. That makes sense to you?
It makes sense.
Yeah. So when we see that, we're looking at ourselves from a holistic standpoint, from a whole thing, spirit, mind, and body, and then connecting all three of us together. And when we kind of make sense of that, because we don't need a separation, when I say it's an illusion, a separation between subject and object, actually throws us off. So once we transcend that illusion and get back to our wholeness, we can connect to how your energy tractor feels and get past that critical point that keeps us with them lower. They said only a small amount of pressure. So if I'm on a lower energy vibration, if I find that critical point that helps me transcend that lower to a higher, like I gotta sit and do the work within me. It says everything within man. But now when I go within myself and release that, how much more joy you think you would feel if you're not walking around harboring old emotion that's not truly yours.
That's a it's gonna have a major impact,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's a small stuff that like keeps us. Um,
It's a no here.
it's a small things that keep us back or in our own way, or that
Mm-hmm.
keep us in a state of fear and just upset, and disease, and not in flow,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like it's like even like how can a small spider bring down a whole big man,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it found that little point,
Mm-hmm.
to take it down to attack the nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's what I wanted to say earlier was this is talking about something that's invisible
Mm-hmm.
that affects us,
Mm-hmm.
right? Words have power, but it's also invisible.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see words,
Mm-hmm.
but it affects us, our feelings, our emotions, depending on how our definitions are of these things.
Mm-hmm.
But then, which then brings it to the point of um, even when you're using words, that can be a major effect, right? Especially how you use it. Um, how else would like when I was here last time with you, and I told you, hey, I had a conversation with my peoples.
Mm-hmm.
I told them how I felt about something,
Mm-hmm.
but there was one word that I used that made them completely change and just upset.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It wasn't a bad word. Like there's a worse word I could have used,
Mm-hmm.
but it's funny how we're having a conversation. I'm thinking about like, damn, just that one word was a critical point
Mm-hmm.
that just changed the whole
Mm-hmm.
situation to
Mm-hmm.
something that that changed how they feel and see our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow, it's like it's small stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it just I'm just seeing how it all is connected.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a so when we're looking at the quantum fields, quantum mean the small things.
I thought it meant the big things.
Quantum, the quantum field. Quantum field is small things. So we gotta look at, and when we look in the spiritual world, it's a small thing that can go to be big things.
So like quantum leaps.
Yeah, small.
Okay.
Yeah, so because cause remember, quantum leap is a small leap here can change way down there. Lost sense of initial
Or like you
condition.
said with
Yeah.
with the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if it's off by what?
Yeah, 1 degree.
1 degree.
You'll
Yeah.
be off 100 miles later. So that's what it is. It's the quantum field. It's the small things that we need to start paying attention to. Because if I pay attention to when it's small, it won't get huge.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we understand. Like it's a subtle adjustment that we need to pay attention to, and we start doing like, oh wow, that's a critical point. 'Cause remember, the critical point is something very subtle and small, not like a boulder. It's just like let me find the small spot and touch you. Like, oh whoa, understanding what you're dealing with, the spiritual part. So now the same way, I can pass from a lower vibration to a higher vibration either way by somebody just saying something. You know what I'm saying? Like, dang, that was critical. Now you understand, like, that's a critical point. They're like, whoa. So just being mindful of actually this knowledge helps us be more of a craftsman with our words. And not just shoot them just shoot them random in the crowd. But as I'm speaking, I want to direct and not defend you, but actually allow yourself to open up, look at it from a different perspective. Kind of empower you, to kind of um allow you to grow. You know, 'cause a lot of times we stuck in the confined, but if somebody comes that you trust and believe, hey, no, let me look at it from a different perspective, like a hologram. Let me look at it from the other side, like, oh wow, like I never thought about that because you were just stuck in the way you were feeling.
Right.
So once we kind of grow out of that, we give ourselves a chance to grow because now we have a different perspective of it, which is sometimes, especially as men, we're so masculine. Masculine just means stuck in our ways. Feminine mean a lot more flexible, a lot more open. You know, so just connected to our more flexible side.
I agree.
Hmm. So man, anything you want to say before we get out of here, man? Because this chapter here definitely helped me just kind of like put color to the invisibleness and how it affects us with our behaviors and our attitudes and our moves and how to kind of transcend and move through them.
Yeah. It's just going back to the earlier pages when he was saying how this stuff started to be discovered, recently, like 50s and 60s, 70s. That was not too long ago.
Right.
Right, but just social media just makes it seem like so far away. But even before that, this stuff has always been here. It just just like you said in the past, there's always going to be a time when information is when wisdom and when the important wisdom and knowledge is not passed on in practice to the next generation is lost.
Yes.
So then that generation has to then sort of find those pieces again, find that information again. And I think this is basically him. This is basically him showing, hey, we didn't know this stuff. It's always been here, but now we discovered it
again. That's the same thing they say about nonlinear dynamics. Most people in the public don't know about this. So that's why I put it on the screen so you people here that's tuned in, you can actually look up for yourself what nonlinear dynamics is and tap into it yourself. Like you don't need nobody to be your agent, your middleman. You can tap in yourself. You know what I'm saying? It just takes you time to sit in and look within yourself and release whatever holds you to lower vibrations, man. You know, it's not simple, but it's doable. It's not comfortable, but it's convenient because you just sit with you. My brother Les, thank you for coming out, my brother. Thank y'all for tuning in. My new name they call me as Professor Unk. So this is Professor Unk and the guy Les, man. We out, man. Thank you for tuning in. Namaste. Man, each week this